Got it.
Meeting is being live streamed.
What's that? All right.
I think
It
we're
says
live.
setting up. Are we live?
I think so. Meeting is now streaming live on YouTube.
All right, there we go. All right. So I have my friend Anton here today, and I'm super excited to bring on Anton. And I kind of want to jump right into something because I was going through your page. I was trying to look up pictures, the posts or whatever. And I found this picture and I just want to know the backstory on this. So it's a picture with you and Logan Paul. Can you see it on your screen there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the story behind this? How did this happen? And what is this? Where is this at?
This is a long story. That was in London. Logan is the reason I moved to LA. I was originally living in Michigan, and at the time I was literally dead broke. I was 21 years old, had no money, sleeping in a bed with my own mom. It was a bad time in my life. And long story short, I was working with a company at the time, and my buddy Spencer got an opportunity to help Logan with a documentary. And I was kind of the only other person on his team. So he was like, you got to come. And I ended up working pretty closely with the whole group and the whole Maverick team for over a year, pretty much.
What did you do with them or for them?
And it was all like media stuff. And it was a cool experience, man.
Really cool. So there's some other pictures I want to ask you about here. So we have Bob Proctor.
Yep.
And then what I kind of, I really want to know this experience here. So Wim Hof, what was that like?
Wim Hof. Yeah. So I spent a week at Wim Hof's house actually with a group of men. And he just took us through like an initiation, essentially. Took us fucking into the rivers of Poland during winter and just doing like 10, 15, 20-minute ice baths, just literally freezing. And then this photo here was the last day where we actually climbed a mountain in our shorts for about 6 hours in the freezing cold. So
yeah, that sounds like fun. And then the last two here. So you said there's Tony Robbins here, and then we have Joe Dispenza. You said that you worked with Joe and for a long time or something. So what was that all about?
Yeah. So Dispenza worked directly with him and helped grow his social media. So kind of my come up, so to speak, was working with all these kind of living masters from a very, very young age, and essentially providing them value through social media, which was a skill set I learned. But as a byproduct of doing that, I grew so much as an individual because I was going to Bob Proctor's retreats and Joe Dispenza's retreats back to back. So I was just getting like at such a young age, just like this abundant of information repeatedly into my fucking mind. So it just, I attribute all of that wisdom and knowledge I learned through those guys to my success in business and financially and all those things.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And when you're around it, it's the rub, right? It's just like it just rubs off on you, and you have no choice but to succeed. So that kind of brings me to why I want to talk to you today. So you actually came to me as a client to work with you on some stuff. We worked through it, and then maybe a week ago or so, you were like, Dom, hey, I would love to have you speak at this this conference I'm doing on the 25th and 26th of February coming up next week. Yep. And I was like, oh man, I'm actually doing my own workshop Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And you're like, hey, why don't you just come and speak for like an hour on Sunday morning? So I'm actually going to do it at 8:00 my time, and then 9:00 I go right into what we're going to be doing all day. So tell me a little bit about that, how that came to be, and also talk about the speakers you're going to have there. Actually, I saw that Michael. I didn't really know who Michael was until I saw his face and I started going through his profile. And then I recognize him. He's the guy from The Secret that had like the dreads, right? But he's bald now. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's right. I was like, I knew the face, but I just couldn't, because he has the dreads. And then you have a gentleman, Ryan Zofay, who I went through his profile. He's super successful in the addiction treatment arena. Is that right?
Massively successful. His company does over 150 million a year in revenue.
Oh, that's crazy. One of my mentors that I just joined a group mentorship with him. His name's Eric Spofford. He actually sold his addiction treatment business like 2 or 3 years ago for like $100 and something million. And so now he's doing coaching and things like that. But I saw that they were kind of connected. And then what's the other gentleman's name?
Billy Carson.
Billy Carson. That's right. Forbidden Knowledge. And I've seen his stuff on Gaia and YouTube and things like that. So tell us a little bit about what this thing is going to be about, what this workshop is going to be about,
Yeah.
and some of the stuff that will people get out of it.
Yeah, for sure. So, I think the unique thing with this specific event is that all of these speakers, yourself included, have created like real success in their life. That was the key kind of component of me picking them out, was that, I know Dom and other people listening here, like we've all heard this kind of nonsense in this personal development realm around law of attraction, around manifesting, around thoughts become things, and all these things. And there's a lot of truth in it, but without the full kind of understanding and the full formula and the science and the practicality behind it and the application, you're never going to change your life. So all of these individuals are both my friends and people that have impacted my life in some way, shape, or form. And I just wanted to bring them together so that they could each share their perspectives. Like, Michael Beckwith, he's a reverend, like his perspective is very spiritual in nature. It's very deep, like beyond the mind, like into soul. Billy Carson's more of like using your mind, using your free will to create. My whole thing is science. Your whole thing is getting into the subconscious. Ryan, totally different perspective. It's like he comes from nothing. Like his mom was pretty insane and abusive, and he had all these drug problems. And now today he's got a company that has 150 million in revenue. And yet all these people share the same exact beliefs, just packaged in a different way. So my whole thing was like, how can I take these people and give the audience something where it's like you're getting multiple perspectives of the same thing while in real time applying it? Because that's the thing. I always have this little saying, like, if you let your knowledge lead to learning, you'll become a fool. But if you let your knowledge lead to action, you'll become a master. And that's the whole thing. Like, take the philosophy, initiate the philosophy, and become a master. And that's really what the event is all formed around.
Yeah, I love that. A lot of people just consume, and then very rarely put into action. I've been guilty of that in the past, where it's just you're just constantly, you're listening to podcasts, you're reading books. And honestly, I've found that a lot of that stuff is really good, but sometimes it's good to not listen to a lot of things because it can distract you, right? It's like, one thing I realized, a lot of people when they come to work with us, they put like what they do and this and that. And I see a lot of people, they want to be a trader. And then there's other people that want to do these Amazon store things and drop shipping and this and that. And after doing this for a few years, I realized there's like these weird fads that happen and people get all interested in it. And then they do it for a little while and then they quit, and they do it for a little while, and then they quit. And then I started to think, I'm like, I think a lot of these people are just consuming so much podcasts and information on social media that they go with the next shiny object, like, oh, this is it. This is the one thing that's gonna, and then they never actually truly 100% commit to something. So sometimes I'll purposely not listen to podcasts because I don't want to get distracted. I don't want to listen to some guy like your buddy Ryan, who's making 150 million or revenue, but still is probably a lot of profit.
Yeah.
And now my mind's like, oh well, I should start an addiction treatment business. Like, I like to kind of just stay hyper focused on what I'm doing while simultaneously pulling some of that stuff. But I think a lot of people get distracted. So could you share your perspective on that when it comes to manifesting, creating the life that you want, and being focused as opposed to having all these different things going on?
Yeah. I mean, if a lot, like, I think so many people, they want to start one business before like their first child ever grew up. It's like a business is like a newborn baby. You got to nurture it. And at the beginning, it takes all your attention. Like, it's totally dependent on you. And just like we grow into, teenagers and young adults and old age, so does a business. So it's like, if you have, like, I think one of the most important things we have to decide as a human is to decide, what do we actually want? I think so many people that they don't ever get clear on that. So they end up in a situation you're talking about, which is like shiny object syndrome. Well, it's like, if you know what you want, you're not going to settle for anything but that. But so many people don't have the tools to believe that they can do the thing they actually want and earn insane amounts of income. They don't really believe that. So that's really what I spend my time teaching people how to do, is to open those doors, and similar to you, reprogram that subconscious mind so you can literally have beer, do anything you want. So my whole thing is I have learned from many, many, many different teachers. And I truly believe when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. But when the student is truly ready, the teacher will disappear. I had mentors that I worked with for a very long time. I took their wisdom, applied it. It was relevant at that time. Then I grew out of it, and that they seem to fade with that. So I think it is important for us to like stay with a set of philosophies for a while to really test it like a scientist to see if it's real before we move on to the next thing. Like I know for you, I've been seeing in your stories, you're reading U Squared. That's one of my favorite books. And I've read that thing, man, I've read that thing hundreds and hundreds of times.
It's
And
so
every
nice.
time,
It's so
it's
small and
so
short and
good.
sweet.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
way it's written, it's just like a piece of art. And every time I read it, it's like a whole new book. And it's like, why? It's because I'm growing consistently. So I'm perceiving the information through a whole new lens. And it's like, everyone's always asking me like, Anton, what books you read? I'm like, I read the same like 20 books. I just go reread them over and over and over because mastery takes serious repetition. So, you know, that's really my whole approach with that. You got to go deep into it and you got to keep learning. And the moment you think you know something, you're on the brink of ignorance because there's always more to know about a topic.
Oh yeah, there's so many levels, man. But yeah,
So many.
that book, I read it. I created my quantum leap. I want to say December 2nd of last year, 2022. And literally in January, we almost doubled the amount of clients that we brought in. And looking at the forecast of the month of March, from December to March, it'll literally be like 3x the amount of clients and revenue and things like that. And I know it's from reading that book. And honestly, it's funny that you say that because when you reached out to me to do this, I was like, oh, this is my quantum leap. And I said, oh, this is I'm making a quantum leap. I know exactly where I'm going. I'm open to the unexpected. So that's why I was like, I'll make it work within, even though I'm doing the workshop that day. So that's a great book for anybody out there that wants to read it. It's U Squared. So tell me, in this 2-day workshop, what, if you don't have to go over everything, but what are some of the things that people are going to be going over? What are they going to experience? And can you give us an example of a breakthrough that a client had from one of your past experience of where they're at and where they're gonna get to?
Yeah. So we're going to be going over a lot, but in short, you're going to be learning the neuroscience of creation, like what actually takes place in the brain to create the life you want. I'm sure you're very familiar, Dom, with the RAS, the reticular activating system.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the filtering process in your brain. It's literally what filters your core beliefs and what you believe is true, and also what your limiting beliefs. So it also filters in false truths into your reality, and that makes you go on the defense. It's like, for me, for so long, I had this trust issue thing, couldn't trust anybody. And it was that was that filter. So it didn't matter if somebody was being untrustworthy or not. My brain saw it as they are not trustworthy. And everyone around me was like, no, dude, that is in your head. And that's what these filters do. So I show people how your success is already in your environment. You just can't perceive it. So you got to remove the filters or install new ones. So that's really what day one's about. And then Rev's going to be, Michael Beckwith's going to be speaking that night, and he's going to be talking about the 4 stages of spiritual growth, which is very interesting teaching. It really goes into like victim consciousness, creator consciousness, and then I forget the other 2, but the last one is oneness. So when there's like zero separation between you and everything. So he's going to be taking people through an experience like that. You on Sunday morning, you can speak to what you're going to be talking about, but really talking about the power of sleep hypnosis and how to reprogram your subconscious mind while you're sleeping. And then Billy and Ryan are going to go into how your past does not equal your future. Like Billy has had an incredibly hard life. So has Ryan, and they both turned it around. And, in terms of results, I mean, you're really going to, for people, they're going to come in, and the biggest thing they're going to identify is what do they want? Because if you don't know what you want and you're doing this work, it's pretty pointless. Like, you have to have an aim, and you have to believe that you can do it. And we're going to show you the steps on how to do that and give you the science and the practical application. I'm going to be taking people through different trauma release exercises to get that stored energy out of the body. out of the subconscious so that they can finally fucking like create and perceive the life that they want. Because it's all here for us. It's literally all here for us. It's just people can't perceive it in their environment because they have all these limiting beliefs. So we're going to remove those and install new ones. But I'll tell you about one of my buddies, Antonio. He went to one of my events in Michigan last August. And before that event, he was making, I think he made like $3,000 or $5,000 that month in his business. The following month, when he got home, he literally made 30 grand in that.
Nice.
Business. So it just goes to show, it's like, were the clients not there? Was the strategy not there? No, it was always there. It's just he was in the wrong energy to perceive the execution. But it's like, just like when someone asks your name, you respond. Like, I'll give you this example of how the RAS works. If you're in a crowd and there's all this noise happening, like you're in this, let's say you're at a concert and there's music and there's people talking and da 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 da, and you're not hearing anything. Your brain is just filtering it all out because it's got to distort, delete, and generalize. This is what the brain does. So once it gets all that information out of the way, you're just hearing noise, nothing specific. But then you're walking through that crowd and someone says, hey, Dom, or hey, Anton, you're going to respond in an instant. Why? You're programmed for your name. So your brain is literally wired to hear it. Well, that same exact philosophy applies with creation. It's like, if you're truly wired for success, if you're truly wired for abundance, when it comes in your environment, you're going to respond to it just like your name. You're not going to be hesitant. You're going to be like, is this the thing? It's like, no, you're going to know. It's going to be right there, just like your name. So once you have that level of certainty in your own energy, oh man, abundance is waiting for you. So
yeah, and I'll second that. I remember I went to, are you familiar with Huna? Ancient Hawaiian Huna. It's like Ho'oponopono and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Huna is the modality. It's kind of like Reiki, but it's a Hawaiian version of it. It's very like kept really closely, from the people who kind of pass it down. But anyway, it's a lot of energy work, symbols, and doing work in your subconscious, and also just energetically in your chakras on the front of the body, the back of the body. And man, it's crazy. I'll tell you about the experience, but then my results after, because it's kind of seems like similar to something you're going to be doing in this workshop. But we did this energy work where we essentially cleared out all of our chakras and then, do some symbols and things like that. And man, when I walked out of that room in this hotel, it literally, it's actually, now that I'm talking about it, I'm kind of bringing myself back to that moment, and everything in here is getting really clear and really sharp and really bright. But man, I felt like I was on drugs or something. It was like a high, and after that event, I want to say, yeah, it was the very next week. At the time I was charging way less than I do now, but I want to say I signed up like 11 out of the 14 people that I talked to, and I made like $14,000 or something. And at the time it was a lot of money. I was like, damn, I made $14,000 in a week. And it was 100% because I went to this, this retreat, and I cleared out a lot of the energy. And actually in the retreat, we made a goal of like, what do we wanted to make or whatever. And I put 8,000 in a week, and it ended up 50% increase in that. And as a matter of fact, every single time I've ever invested into something like what you're doing, every time I always end up making more money after that. The only reason I don't do more is because I got to fulfill the work that comes after that. But if I could do it like every weekend, just go to a seminar and just level up super fast, man, I would totally do that. So yeah, for those of you watching, like I haven't been to Anton's seminar. I've seen and heard some of the stuff that you do, and I know what it's about. So I know it's going to be extremely powerful. So how would people, if they want to attend the seminar, how would people go about getting, tickets? And actually, I'll put a link in the description down below for anybody who's watching this. It's going to be next week. So if it's after that, then you can just get in touch with Anton and see about his future events. I'll put his other info in the description as well. But how would people get in touch with you for this event and also future events?
Yeah. So for this event, you can go to the link here in the YouTube. It's going to be, there's really two ticket options. They're really cheap. $77 gets you the full 2 days. You could also do a VIP. It's 222, super, super cheap, made it very affordable. And the reason why we're doing this at this price point is just to really give people a taste. There's going to be a lot of people who have never been to an event, never been to a seminar, never invested in themselves. And, it can be hard for some people at first to invest, thousands of dollars, because it's not that the value is not there. It's just, they don't understand the value because they've never had an experience. So I'm really passionate about letting people come in the door at a really affordable price point. So all you got to do is pretty much just click the link, sign up.
So it's $77. That's it. Or
It's only
222.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I had no idea, to be honest with you. I didn't even, I think you told me, but I just didn't register. I was just like, whatever, let's do it. Let's do it. But oh my God, dude, $77 for these speakers. Like, what the hell?
It's
people are, oh my God. People, if you're watching this and you are not going to buy a ticket, you're out of your mind. Like that's insane to hear those types of people. And then also you're going to be on there with a bunch of other people. Like you'd have to be kind of, you'd have to be silly to not do it. And I'll say something what Anton just said here, which is totally true. A lot of people, if they understood the value, like me, dude, I'll spend 10, 20 grand on coaching and stuff like this, seminars, everything, without even batting an eye. Only because I've had past experiences where I'm like, oh, like I just said, I know if I invest this money, I go to this thing, it's going to boom, propel me to the next level. Yep. But I remember how I got into doing personal development. I got lucky. My mom bought me my first introductory hypnosis course as a Christmas gift in 2018. And I went to the course. I had no desire to do this for a living. Like when I say zero, I literally mean zero. I just went to it because like my mom bought it for me. It'll be cool. Maybe I'll learn a cool party trick or something. I didn't really know what to expect. But I went to the in-person course 3 days later, and I just felt it. And I had such a transformational experience in those 3 days that I decided, like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing on this earth. I'm not supposed to be selling insurance and hating my life and hating my job. I'm supposed to be doing something that I love. And I made a decision. I was like, all right, this is what I'm doing. And then 2 weeks later, I quit insurance and I started doing this. Well, funny thing is, I want to say the week of, or it was the week after the 3-day course, one of the gentleman who actually gave the course, he called me. He's like, so Don, what do you plan on doing with what, you went through the course, I was like, well, I want to work with like UFC fighters and stuff like that. I think that'd be really cool because I do jiu-jitsu, whatever. He's like, look, man, if you want to work with people at that level, that 3-day course you did is just not enough. It's good entry, but like you need to get your skills up to a higher level. So come to this course. Is like 7 days, $3,500. And man, literally at the time I was in so much debt and I had $1,700 in my bank account. All my credit cards were just there's nothing left, nothing. I had $1,700 to my name. And really, I didn't even have 1,700 because 700 was going towards my rent. So I had $1,000. And I like reluctantly gave the guy a $900 deposit, honestly, because I liked him. And I was like, all right, man, you were super cool with me during the training. Fuck it, let's do it. And I made payments on it. And as I was making every month, it was like $500 for like 5 or 6 months. I don't remember. But every month when the money would come out, I'd be like, fuck, dude, should I just cancel this? Like, do I really need this? Whatever. And man, I went to the 7-day course, and well, here's what happened. When I went to the course, I went through the whole training, the whole thing. And I was like, dude, where was this when I was like 18, 19, 20 years old? Like, why didn't I do this a long time ago? Why did I have to wait till I was 30 to go through this, this breakthrough of finding my limiting beliefs, my traumas, where that all that stuff was. So yeah, man, if for the people watching to pay $77 or $200 to get this type of experience and then open you up to doing more, it's going to be worth every penny. Like every time I've ever invested money in myself, it always works out.
Yeah, totally. And a huge thing with this, just very upfront, is that it's way more than $77 worth of value.
Of course, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I can't believe
it's like, there's actually like some downsides to making it that cheap, because people actually go, like $77, that's so cheap. Like, well, how good could this really be?
Right.
But you just on day one, I tell people, if you don't have a breakthrough by noon on day one, we'll refund your money. Like that's the guarantee. Like that's going to be so powerful. Just the exercise I'm going to do on day one is going to literally give people a sense of themselves they've probably never experienced in their whole life. And it's this really deep, altered state trauma release practice. It's incredibly powerful. And speaking to your point, Dom, the first time I actually did the exercise I'm going to be teaching, coincidentally, I went from making $2,000 a month to over $10,000 a month within like a 3-month time frame from the moment I did that exercise.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I broke the threshold from 10,000 to 30,000, and it never stopped since. And it's like, yeah, there was many factors that played out, but the one huge differentiator was that I truly fucking let go of some big shit that was on to.
Right.
You release that energy. It's like you were saying how, you know, every time you go to an event, you see the tangible results. And that's because everything's energy, and you're just expanding your field of your energy. So that's creating more beauty in your life because you're not operating from the limited self. And that's why events are so powerful. They really, really boost your belief. You see other people, like someone like Ryan Zofe, who's literally comes from nothing, literally comes from the dirt. And dude has 150 million a year in revenue. Like he could sell this business for a 10%,
$1 billion
10x,
probably.
yeah, 10x multiple for sure.
Yeah.
And he probably will. And it's like to see that and hear that from another human being, that alone, it boosts your belief. And then mixed in with the strategies of how, okay, this is what we did to do this. You guys can do it too. And it just, man, it really changes you. It really, really does. It just, and once you see, you can't really unsee. It's like you just,
no, man, you're totally
expanded, right. And it's like it can't go back.
We were just looking at today. We were looking at these houses. They're like, you know, like $3 million houses. They're really nice, brand new house. And before we were looking at like 1.5 million, because I was kind of like, I'll just be modest. I don't want to spend, you know, too much, whatever, you know, whatever. And then recently I was like, you know, fuck that. And so we went to this house, and it's like 6,400 square feet. It's brand new, you know, just fucking just beautiful. And we start walking through, and I'm like, and once we leave, I was like, yeah, we're not getting the 1.5 million. We're gonna make this happen. And it's just because, like you said, once you have seen it, you can't unsee it. It's like just even that 15-20 minutes of that taste of that experience. I'm like, oh no, those 1.5 ones, those are kind of cheap. They're, you know, they're just like a little small, you know, they're only 4,000 square feet or whatever. But it really changes you, man. So for those of you out there, if you're on the fence about investing $77, I'm telling you right now, you're gonna be like, dude, you could charge $7,000 for this event. You know, and I know you've probably done the same. Like I've spent $5,000 for an hour of somebody's time before. And that information that I got in that session just boom, took me to another income level. And I know that I think you're in Tony Robbins' group where it's like 100 grand a year or 85 grand a year or something like that. And I'm sure once you invested in that, you're probably like, but then it probably paid you back, you know, 20-fold, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's actually where I met Ryan. He's a lion in Tony's world, which is like a step above Platts. But yeah, you know, it's about 115 grand. That's not including travel, none of that. It's just, that's just the event tickets and the proximity to Tony and the group. And it's like the people I met, first of all, and the way I was able to grow my business. It's like after being in that world, I went from being a business operator to a business owner, where my business runs whether I'm here or not. That shit runs in my sleep. My team, I have an incredible team, but it's like I had to learn the psychology of owner. And I wouldn't have ever learned that if I didn't invest that money, because it expanded my like belief on what business even really is. I was like, I had a glorified job, and it was like, it was great, had a lot of money, but it was like, I didn't have freedom. So investing in these programs has literally like evolved my experience.
Is there anything you spend more money on for yourself aside from that? Because there's not for me. Like that's right.
The only other thing is payroll.
That's what I mean. Like your business.
Yeah, myself. No,
I mean that though. Yeah.
I buy all types of gadgets and things. I have like this crazy infrared sauna and ice baths and all the biohacks. But yeah, events, I invest a lot into my growth because it saves me time. Like I'm always one to cut a check for speed. And that's why you as well, you like working with people one-on-one, because you want to go to the source and be like, hey, I'll give you an extra, I'll pay a premium if you teach me directly and take like decades and turn them into days. Like that's the thing. It's like, why would you're going to spend the same money over the course of your life. You might as well go to a trusted source, pay them a lot, and be guaranteed a result. Like, why not? And that's the best, quickest, most efficient way to learn. It's like people want to learn things, and you look at high school, or, you know, anytime you took a foreign language in high school, or you know, middle school. I took 4 years of Spanish. I can't speak an ounce of Spanish. Why? Because you learn 1 hour, one time a week, or once a day, or whatever. It's like there's no stacking. But it's like if you threw me in fucking, you know, Spain, or you put me in Italy for 6 months, just being immersed in that environment, or even a month, you're going to learn, you're going to pick up on the subtleties. You're going to start to learn, like, ooh, yeah. And you're going to put it together, and then you're going to actually learn the language. But it's like, when it comes to transforming your life, it's like people want to read one book.
Yeah.
6 times, you know, they read 10 books in a decade, one a year. They go to one event. It's like, no, the best way, immerse yourself, go deep, stay with it, and stack it. It's like these days, they're long days, like each day's 6 hours. And the reason for that is because we're really compacting that energy. And it's like that stacking effect. And man, that really, really gets it deep into your nervous system. And then it's not just becoming knowledge, it's becoming wisdom, because it's inside of you, not just conscious, but deeper, like in your actual nervous system.
Right. So it ain't going nowhere.
No, it's it's who you are.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. Well, shoot, I'm super excited that you had me be one of your speakers. I'm like super excited to do it as well. Is there any last thoughts, anything that you want to close up on before we head out?
No, I mean, I just encourage everybody, you know, I think a lot of people are skeptical, and that's normal. If you're skeptical, actually go to my Instagram and watch. I have a testimonial tab on my page, and you can see real people just like you talking about their experience of this work, and you'll just see. And I think, again, once you see, you can't unsee. So if you're skeptical, make the jump. The reason why skepticism comes in is because you have a current paradigm. And that paradigm is all your actions, all your beliefs, everything who you are. And anytime you do anything outside of that paradigm, the brain goes, ooh, this is uncomfortable. And then it labels it like, because it's uncomfortable, you shouldn't do it. No. That's the exact opposite. You should go through it, because on the other side of that discomfort is usually a breakthrough. So I encourage everybody here, if you're listening, just take the jump. What do you got to lose? $77. And if you can't go live, get the replay. That's the VIP. And I promise you, it's my personal guarantee. If you don't have a breakthrough by noon, we will refund your money. No questions asked. So come check it out.
You got nothing to gain, nothing to lose, and everything to gain.
Exactly.
Hell yeah, man. Well, thanks for coming on, Anton.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Dom. This was awesome.